This is the first time I have ever reviewed a security camera with 2 lenses. I didn't even know this was a thing. So, hey, interest peaked. Let's roll on with that. Let's roll on with that? You know what? That is so stupid. I'm just keeping it in the video. Yeah, I am on, what day is it? 23 days without shaving. What's up YouTube? Jason here with Byte My Bits, and in today's video I want to talk about, you guessed it, a dual lens Wi-Fi security camera brought to you by HeimVision. HeimVision. This thing has floodlights, IR lights, 2 lenses, Wi-Fi, all kinds of stuff. But before I get into that, if you guys have ever been considering private internet access, I know, shameless ad, forgive me, I'm sorry, but literally they are offering it for $2.19 a month right now. Wow. Spit everywhere. It was disgusting. They are offering it for $2.19 a month for a Black Friday sale. Expires, I think, at the end of this month. So if you ever wanted to try them out with a money-back guarantee, links are in the description down below. You might have to disable ad blocker for the link for some reason. No idea why. Fair warning though, if you have speeds faster than 250 megabits per second download, you might be slightly hindered by speed. But anything below that, you should be good to go. You can seed all the things, you can set it up with Deluge, you can put it on your Unraid server, run it through Sonar or whatever you crazy kids are doing these days. I'm just saying, if you really want to try it out now. Links in the description down below. Moving on, HeimVision dual lens, $50 camera. Keep that in mind. That is going to be an important part of this review because $50, just keep that in mind. 50-ish, it fluctuates, but links are in the description if you want to get the most up-to-date pricing. So the HeimVision 4 megapixel dual lens Wi-Fi security camera is only 1080p. And yes, it is Wi-Fi, and no, it does not support power over Ethernet, which I understand because it's really meant to be Wi-Fi. You connect power to it and you connect Wi-Fi. If you had wired, you wouldn't worry about Wi-Fi, but whatever. I like PoE, it's weird. Bear in mind, I ignore probably 5 or 6 security camera requests, review requests every single month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but sometimes it's more. I literally ignore a lot of those because none of them seem interesting or they're locked down. As in, they don't support RTSP or ONVIF, which means they won't work with Blue Iris. And I am all about the Blue Iris, the openness of being able to connect your own NVR software to a camera is a requirement. I will no longer review any camera that does not support an open communication protocol like ONVIF or RTSP. But this one does, with a catch. But before I get to that, yes, it does have infrared technology, so it can see up in the dark up to 98 feet away. And it also comes equipped with floodlights, which I thought was also somewhat interesting. It's motion activated, and believe it or not, the floodlights themselves are pretty good. I mean, it really lights up an area. The thing I really don't like about the floodlights is really the Amazon website where they say color night vision, and their version of color night vision is a spotlight. It's not colored night vision, it's a spotlight. You're lighting up the area. Why are you calling this colored night vision? That doesn't make sense. Whatever. But whatever you call it, the spotlight itself is very effective, it's very bright, and it definitely makes the image very clear, which I was very surprised, especially for a 1080p. And I realized I just said very like 15 times in one sentence, so again, it is not power over Ethernet, so it does require a power source, specifically a 12 volt 1 amp power source. A thing to note here with the Wi-Fi, it is only 2.4 gigahertz. It does not support 5 gigahertz, which is fine. I personally don't see that as a downfall, but some people are like, all 5 gigahertz. Me personally, I'm the kind of guy that likes to separate my 2.4 network from the 5 gigahertz network devices, because if I want something like my iPhone or a laptop or something that is actually data hungry, I want it to be able to run off 5 gigahertz and leave that 2.4 gigahertz to all the pleb devices, like this. It is IP65 waterproof, which means it will work outside, assuming you can get power to it and you can protect the power port like this with, without getting stuff in there. And the cool thing at this price point, aside from the dual lens, which is kind of interesting, the cool thing from this price point is that it does have two-way audio communication, which means it has a mic and a speaker built in. So kind of cool. Speakers, decent. I mean, it's actually louder than the alarm. Touch base on that here in a second, but it is a nice feature. And I can say it is somewhat responsive and quick. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Intruder alert. Intruder alert. Run. It also has an alarm, which, hey, neat feature, but HeimVision, if you're listening, your alarm is weak AF. Like, you just not scared by it at all. I'm sorry, it sucks. That alarm feature literally should not exist. On top of the alarm feature not being very loud, if you try to talk while the alarm is going off, it just screws everything up. It's like testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. I mean, it just sounds like a robot's going banana on the speaker, and you have absolutely no idea what's going on. It also supports micro SD, up to 128 gigabytes. I guess some notes on that too. I'm sorry, HeimVision, but I plugged a 128 gig thing into this one night. I may or may not have had, at least half a beer at the point, but then I searched for hours trying to find that memory card because I wanted to test things out the next day. And when I looked in the software, the camera did not register the memory card. Turns out I found the card, it was in the camera, and I had to manually reboot the camera in order for it to recognize the card. And anytime I took the card out and put it back in, I had to reboot the camera again. So, that's just a firmware upgrade away from being fixed, but it's just a minor annoyance. Still, 128 gigs, and the files are not that big, so that's probably months worth of storage. Now, even though I talked about the dual lens at the beginning of this video, let's circle back to that. From what I can find, one lens is a 110 degree wide angle lens, wide-ish angle lens. 110 degrees is like not super wide, like Amcrest wide, but it's still very usable. But the zoom in lens, I feel is like 4 or 5 times zoom, and it's like a 30 degree lens. And it actually does a pretty decent job of zooming in. It's an optical zoom, and it switches back and forth via the app that you download to get, set up and working, kinda. The whole app thing, I got weird gripes about that too. But you can switch back and forth from the lens, which I think is interesting because that means that you can get this device, put it in a certain area, and later on, if for whatever reason, if you want to zoom in on something like maybe a parked vehicle or something like that and try to catch license plates, you will have a better chance of catching it with the extra lens. Although at 1080p, there's really no guarantee you're going to catch much of anything. Still, very interesting, and it makes a single camera useful for multiple things. So I do like that. It's an interesting feature. I was kind of wondering to myself, can I use both lenses at the same time? Just ONVIF through into the camera and say, hey, access lens 1 and lens 2. That would have been cool. Totally not a thing, but one can wish. So now that I touched base on that, let's talk about the app. The app that you need to download in order to set everything up, at least you're supposed to need to download to set everything up, and is the HeimLink app. Heim Home app? Is it the HeimLink or Heim? I don't know. Let's look. Yeah, HeimLink, which is very close to Heimlich, or Heimin, but it's a HeimLink app. This app is very stubborn in wanting to require you to create an account, which, I'm not always opposed to, especially when I'm doing a review, but I saw the option to direct connect, and setting up direct connect was insanely complicated, could not get it to work. I ended up creating an account and everything. The setup process from there was actually very simple. And within the app, you have the options to do things like turn on the spotlight, turn it off, turn it to auto. That way when it, senses movement, it just blasts that light, which by the way, in a dark room, super bright, kind of blinds you, can't look at it directly. I know from experience, trust me, little spots were in my eyes for hours. It has a button that switches from SD to HD, which is kind of like ruined half of my testing because I was like, this really sucks. It should be 1080p. What's going on? Oh, look, it's a button that defaults to SD for some reason. All you got to do is really spend some time in the app. You got to change it to HD. You got to set up your floodlights if you even want floodlights. Set up your infrared lights if you want the night vision. And then we jump a little bit more into the configuration of the camera, which this is a major point of contention for me, and actually a reason that makes it hard for me to recommend this camera, because I have looked high and low and I cannot, for the life of me, figure out a way to change the default password for this camera. I can't do it. I had to Google the default password. Super easy. 12345. Fantastic. In fact, I plugged it into my Blue Iris NVR software. I typed in admin 12345 discover, and it pulled everything up. Worked flawlessly, very quick, great picture quality. Everything was really good. However, there is zero web interface that you can log in through your computer into this camera to change a password. There are zero options in the app that I could find that allows me to change the password. So that means if I decided I wanted to run this all the time on my home network, that means I have a smart device connected to the internet with a default password. Going back to the $50 camera thing, right? The Wi-Fi is good. It doesn't have PoE, makes sense. Everything there, it's kind of preference. So, hey, that's good. The build quality is kind of, it's okay. It does support an SD card up to 128 gigs. So, bonus if you do lose Wi-Fi connectivity or want to use it in an area of which you don't have Wi-Fi, then I guess you could do that as well. But not being able to change the password, I think, is a little ridiculous. And even if changing the password is hidden deep within the multiple hours that I searched trying to find it in the app, if it is that hidden, it needs to be relocated. HeimVision, if you're listening, fix that. That is a thing. But overall, I do like the camera. It's only 1080p resolution, but it is only $50-ish. So, that's not like a deal breaker for me. I think that if you're putting this in a non-critical area where you don't need high resolution, you are more reliant on motion activated notifications sent to your phone through the app. You want the floodlight to kick on. You want to be able to speak to the people and be like, yo, get out of my, then hey, this camera actually does pretty well on all of those topics. But the security standpoint, needs a little bit of improvement. And overall, the night vision isn't bad. Even without the floodlights, the night vision isn't bad. If you get too close, obviously it's gonna blow out your face until it has, ample time to really adjust to you or somebody else being close to the lens in order to compensate for the blowing out and too much, IR, infrared light being blasted on that face. But overall, it works pretty decent. I have no complaints about that. So guys, if you want to learn more about this camera, check out the links in the description down below. As always, thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and have yourself a great day.